Hello and welcome everybody to the Fake Sports League, where it's all statistics and no substance. As always, I'm your host, Kenny Fisher, and these next few days are going to be vital. Teams have been rising, teams have been falling. The record stands, and half of these 12 teams will not make the playoffs come the final game on Friday. We are going to get a lot more clarity over these next few games as teams make it into the playoffs, they clinch their spots, and teams are eliminated from the playoffs. Just to remind everyone, it is the top two from each conference, the number one in the conference receiving a bye, and then the next two at large to round out our 6-team Fake Sports League playoff. As always, it will be single elimination until we come to our final FSL championship game. If you're already tapped into the Discord, you already know about all the player injury news and updates. And for everyone watching right here on YouTube, another reminder, you can always just look through the YouTube chapter feature, jump straight to your favorite team's games, but it is perfectly fine to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And we started things off at Dragon Stadium, where they host the reigning champion Mystics. 4-3 versus 3-4, the record stands, and both these teams sitting in good position to make the playoffs, but every game is going to be vital from here on out. The Mystics turning it on late, but Dragon Stadium is notoriously the toughest place to play. Deafening the stadium is from the support of the Dragons fans. Rookie Dwayne Wells against the vet Percy Willis today. I am super excited to get into this one. 45 on the clock, and it starts out with a turnover from Chris Pike, who gets it to Carlos Gutierrez, and a score. Mystics on the board first, but Christopher Shaw ties it up 1-1, and Adrian Brown gets it right back to Francesco Sage, who puts it through 2-1. Now the Dragons with the lead, 30 seconds to go, and Adrian Brown pulls down another. It's Christopher Shaw this time, and the Dragons with a 2-point lead make it a 3-point lead. Francesco Sage and Christopher Shaw working their magic, and this game is getting out of hand fast. A 4-point lead for the Dragons, just about 10 seconds to go, and this thing is over. Dragons 6-1, under 10 to go. It is just garbage time points at this point. The clock ticks out, and the Dragons are victorious. The final score will be 8-2, a 5-point game from Francesco Sage off of 2 turnovers from Dwayne Wells and 3 turnovers from Adrian Brown. A complete dominance on both sides of the ball. Dragons advanced to 5-3 on the season, and their path to the playoffs just got a lot clearer. Mystics sit at 3-5, but more concerning than that is dropping a 6-point loss. It's a tough place to play. It's hard to be on the road, but you can't just give up on a game like that. Every game is vital, and if you're fighting for a playoff spot, margin of victory could play a difference in the tiebreakers. Mystics cannot drop the ball like that. Mystics not quite, but in danger of elimination. It is time for the expansion teams now. Los Lobos hosting the Flame. The Flame have gotten something going between Rogelio Gil, Xavier King, and Jorge Silva, but a slight change in the defensive lineup. Los Lobos are hoping they've got the right squad together. Home field advantage goes to the Wolves, and I'm excited to get into this one. 45 on the clock, starting now. And it's quickly out to Royal Johnston, who gets it down for Los Lobos. 1-1 now. Xavier King to respond, but it's 2-1 Royal Johnson, and Sean Jacobs with the turnover. Los Lobos with a quick start, and you would have thought the Flame would be favored in this one, but it stands Los Lobos with a 1-point lead, 3-2, under 30 seconds to go. And it's Los Lobos defense that is outpacing this Flames strong defensive squad. Finally, Alan Norman ties it up, and it's 3-3, coming up on 15 seconds remaining. Finally, the Flame take a lead, but Los Lobos tie it up quickly, 4-4, under 10 seconds remaining, and Los Lobos come out with a lead, 5-4 now, 5 seconds remaining. Could we see overtime? Yes, we can. Alan Norman with a 3-point performance comes up big to force overtime against Los Lobos on the road. 3 points for Alan Norman, 3 points for Royal Johnston, and this game is 5-5 headed into overtime. We need 20 more seconds to get this one decided. Jorge Silva quickly gets this Flame defense together, but Sean Jacobs right back at him. It's going to be back and forth defense as Los Lobos take the lead now, under 10 seconds remaining, but Rogelio Gil gets on the board for the first time tonight, ties it back up. Could we see double overtime? 6-6, 7-6, Los Lobos, no! Alan Norman does it again. We might want to take a look at this. I mean, the fans are going crazy here at Los Lobos Stadium. It had looked like the time had ran out on the Flame, but I'm hearing this score is unreviewable. It will be double overtime. I'm not sure I agree with that call, but the show goes on. Los Lobos with the lead now. Hopefully this will fire up the home team. 2 points for Los Lobos. But Alan Norman hot on their heels. 5 points for Alan Norman today, under 10 seconds remaining. The home team with a 1-point lead. 2 seconds remaining. Could this be it? And ball don't lie. It is Los Lobos at home with a 1-point victory over the very strong 4-3 Flame. It is going to be 5 turnovers from Sean Jacobs, 4 turnovers from Frank Ricks, and that is really the reason that the Los Lobos came away with a victory at home. A double overtime thriller, but that keeps Los Lobos' playoff hopes alive. What a crazy matchup that one was. We take things to the Tide now, where they host the Frogs. The Frogs have been getting something going as of late, but the Tide have shown they can hang with the best of the best. Lamar Brown and Brett Romero have been electric this season, and Courtney Fowler, along with Audrey Becker, have been holding it down on defense. Frogs going to need to dig deep between Drew Park, Percy Pena, and Fabian Hills. It's going to be on the offense to outscore this very potent Tide team. 45 on the clock. And we start things out a little bit slower here. Audrey Becker finally gets a turnover and passes out to Brett Romero, who scores off of it. Percy Pena, a quick response, 1-1. The score stands. Drew Park now getting in on the action. It will be Ronnie Lamb to get a turnover, keep in the Frogs' possession. Under 30 to go. And the Tide tie it up this time. 2-2. Brett Romero with both make it all 3 points for the Tide today. But it's 3-3. Drew Park keeps it close. Tide with a 1-point lead, back and forth it goes. Tide now coming up on 10 seconds remaining. The lead for the Tide make it 5-5, 6-5. The Tide and Frogs, could we see overtime here? These are two evenly matched teams today, but it will be the Tide at home with a strong finish. 7-6, the score remains. 3 points for Brett Romero, 3 points for Dwayne Sullivan, and every Tide defender with a turnover today. A strong offensive performance out of the Frogs, but you cannot give up 7 points on the road. Frogs got to tighten up that defense if they want a shot at the playoff conversation. Tide now a 6-win season, and not only are they in the playoff conversation this year, but they're pushing for a first-round bye. An amazing turnaround from this program after losing every single game last season. And it is a completely different team, an all-rookie squad coming out here and dominating week after week. It is time now for the Rebels and Red Pandas. These are probably the two most underrated teams in the FSL. The expansion teams, 5 wins combined between these two franchises, but both these teams have very talented rosters. Horace McLean will be in lockstep with Joey Spencer today, but what I'm concerned about, can Alfred Blair limit Clayton Harrington's effect on the game? Philip Bayless has been feeling himself in this 2 spot. I think the Rebels can put points on the board, but this defensive unit has to stop this very potent Red Pandas offense. 45 on the clock, and we start things out quickly. Philip Bayless on the board first for the Rebels, and Boris McLean gets it right back to him with a quick turnover. What the Red Pandas can't afford is being down on the road early here, and they respond. Joey Spencer and Clayton Harrington, 2 points now. Red Pandas with the lead early, and the pressure mounts on the Rebels for a response they won't find. It's 1-3 now. Red Pandas with a 2-point lead, and this game has quickly turned into a defensive battle. Nobody putting up multiple points today, and we are coming up on 10 seconds remaining. 2-3, the score stands. Make it 2-4 now. Joey Spencer finally puts 2 points on the board. A 2-point lead for the Red Pandas, and with a defensive battle, this feels nice. It could be it. 3-4, your score remains. If your defense can hold them to under 5 points, that's all that you can ask on any given day, but 3 points from the Rebels is just not enough in this one. The Red Pandas with 1 more turnover and 1 more point, and that will be all the difference in this one. Both teams 3-5 on the season, and we will have to look at the leaderboards to see how their playoff hopes are looking with 2 games left in the season. We take things now to the graveyard where the Phantoms host the Knights. There is a lot of news about these 2 teams in the Discord, but let me try to get you caught up. Knights will have to play without their star, Quinn McHugh. He will be missing some time. But take a look over here at this Phantoms defense, and you may be scratching your head on this one. Taylor Barker comes in on defense. You are reading that correctly. Barker, the talented offensive rookie, will have to suit up for the defense. This Phantom squad riddled with injuries. The lineup will be Jared Kelly, Ricky Pratt, and Taylor Barker, but the question is, how much can this Knights offense do without their fearless leader? As always, 45 on the clock, starting now, and it will be a chess master defensive battle, and Elijah Ford now finally on the board for the Knights, but Octavio Bren strikes back just as fast. Lee Cho makes it 1-2 now, coming up on 30 seconds remaining. And this game is going to be close. It's a tie ball game. The Knights defense is going to have to step up here, limit this Phantoms offense. And there it is, a 2-point lead for the Knights, the largest lead so far. 3 points for the Phantoms now. It will be close. It will come down to the wire. A 1-point lead for the Knights. We are coming up on 10 seconds remaining on Octavio Brin. Makes it 4-4 now. 4-5. Lee Cho getting in on the action. 5-5, 5-6. Now this Knights offense starting to get something going. 1 second remaining, and that will finish it. 5-6. But how about Taylor Barker with a turnover for the Phantoms? This offensive rookie doing everything he can for his new home. They had a lot of injuries on the defensive side. They asked him to step up, and he performed. But it will be the Knights offense without their fearless leader Quinn McHugh, who secure the victory on the road. But scraping out a victory against the 2-5 Phantoms team makes you wonder a little bit about the validity of this Knights team without their top player in Quinn McHugh. It is time now for our game of the week. The FSL Comets taking on the Sharks at home. What a season the Comets are having. 6-1. The Sharks have lost 3 in a row. But let's not forget, these two teams have played this season, and the Sharks won at home. But things could be a little different here. Sharks without Al Key, and they'll have to play on the road. Max Adams has only gotten better as the season has gone on, but it would be devastating for the Sharks to start 4-0 and then have to finish off the season at 4-4. This one could be an offensive battle, and it's one that I am excited to see. 45 on the clock, starting now. And Sammy Swanson for the Comets puts the first point on the board. Jason Green with a turnover, and Max Adams with the finish. A 2-point lead for the Comets. Make it a 3-point lead. Sharks really missing Al Key here, but Shebang Bang Richardson the third stops the bleeding with 30 seconds remaining. Make it 3-2 now. Shebang Bang getting everything going for him, and Marcus Evans ties it up just like that. It is 0-0 again, and a 3 make it 4-point tie between the two. Now the offense is getting going as we approach 10 seconds remaining in this game. Comets with a slight lead, and the Sharks tie it back up. It's back and forth. 5 points for Max Adams today. 4 points for Shebang Bang Richardson the third. There's 3 seconds remaining, and Elvin Noriga shuts it down. A turnover that would have sent them into overtime. 7-6 makes the Comets 7-1. 5 points for Max Adams today. And this first rounder might be the forefront of the MVP vote. How about Shebang Bang Richardson the third making the most of his opportunities? The Sharks will drop their 4th in a row, but when they're fully healthy, they are just as good as anyone else. They just cannot go 0-6 in the back end and expect to make the playoffs. Gotta start turning some of these close losses to wins. Comets, on the other hand, might have just clinched it there. Let's take a look at these standings. Tide and Dragons separate themselves atop the ISC. And take a look at this. Frogs, Mystics, and Los Lobos all tied at 3 and 5. Any one of them could win their next 2 and finish in that top 2 spot in the ISC. Everyone still with something to play for. And let's take a look at the FSC. Your Comets have clinched a spot in the playoffs. And with a win tomorrow, the Comets will lock in a first-round bye. Knights hoping to stay strong in that number 2 spot in the FSC. And the Sharks now could be on the outside looking in if they don't change up their strategy soon. 2 more games in the FSL before we enter the playoffs. Comets locked in. Who do you think are going to take those last 5 spots? That's it for me in the booth. We'll see you all right back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all for watching. This has been an official broadcast of the FSL.